Now the headlines. President Barrow arrives in Addis for the maiden AU summit. Now Gambia's President Adama Barrow arrived in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, where he will be attending the 29th ordinary session of the Assembly of the Heads of State and Government of the African Union, accompanied by the First Lady, Mrs. Fatoumata Barrow, and senior cabinet ministers. This is the first African Union summit being attended by President Adama Barrow since assuming office in January. The AU summit, under the theme Harnessing the Democratic Dividend Through Investment in the Youth, will hold from July 3rd to July 4th, 2017. The summit will further examine cross-cutting issues affecting African economies and the opportunities and options that will be exploited for continental transformation. Also in the news, as Trump administration deports Gambian illegals, mixed reaction greets deportations. United States Customs and Immigration agents started deporting Gambians who have been living in the United States of America illegally over the years. This followed the recent normalization of bilateral relations between Washington and the new government in Banjul. The former government of President Yahya Jammeh has in the past refused to accept Gambian deportees from the United States. Over 2,000 Gambians have been lined up to be sent back home. In response to Banjul's no deportation policy against the United States, the former Obama administration decided to impose visa travel ban against Gambia government officials and their spouses. The Gambia was among the list of 20 countries globally designated at the time as nations refusing to accept deportees from the United States. Donald Trump has described himself as the law and order president. He says criminal aliens will be deported from the United States of America. The government of President Adama Barrow has since decided to normalize diplomatic relations between Banjul and Washington by accepting Gambian deportees. This was confirmed by Janelle Hiet, the public affairs officer at the U.S. Embassy in Banjul. The U.S. diplomat told a local Gambian paper, the Standard newspaper, in an interview that they are already encouraging steps taken by the new government to strictly resolve the travel ban against Gambian government officials. Mr. Omar Ba is the executive director for the Rhode Island-based Refugee Dream Center. Mr. Ba comments on the recent deportation of the Gambians from the United States. Mr. Omar Ba said, "The Gambian community in Rhode Island are quite afraid and scared. I have spoken to few people who work through my center, the Refugee Dream Center, seeking help, guidance and counseling about how to go about it. We have about 1,500 Gambians living in Rhode Island. A large amount of them do not have a documentation and may be subjected to deportation because of this situation right now. What we are seeing is a huge level of panic in the community because first, people don't know what to do. Secondly, they are likely going to be affected by the deportation process," said Mr. Barr. Mr. Barr tells this medium that efforts are underway to help the panic-stricken Gambian immigration population in Rhode Island. "We as a non-profit, what we can do is to offer legal support. We have a group of pro bono lawyers who help immigrants and refugees. Those are currently working with people who need help or specific needs. There are lots of things that lawyers can do, but people may not know. But when they work into the center, they get supported. So it's very likely that a lot of people may not be deported because of the support they are getting from the center. We will continue to offer them support through the pro bono lawyers who come to help through our center," Mr. Barr added. Now, Mr. Sekou Sese is a communication officer at Gambian Foreign Policy in Banjul. He told the Point newspaper that some of the Gambian deportees were convicted on criminal charges ranging from drug trafficking, domestic violence, resisting an officer, revenue tax violation, among others. He says the deportees had exhausted all the legal remedies available to them under United States laws. Mr. Cisse also says they are expecting an additional 29 Gambian deportees from the United States. Now, Ebrim Macaulay is a Gambian American based in the state of Missouri. Mr. Colley says the deportations will have an adverse impact on Gambian families. It's going to deny that Marcus Humantamwe in Brikama, Serikunda, Bakau, who is traveling to make ends meet to feed her family. It is going to deny her from that bag of rice she usually purchases at the end of the month, either from her son's remittances from America or Germany or any other country. It's going to deny that blacksmith working in Brikama or Basi the amount of money he usually receives from foreign remittance from one semester from Switzerland or Austria. Colley remarked. Now, foreign remittances account for a greater chunk of Gambians' GDP. It is reported that millions of dollars are remitted to the Gambian annually from overseas. Mr. Colley says the U.S. immigration officials should consider some of the deportation cases for humanitarian grounds. Sorry? Yes, first of all, USCIS, they have what they call humanitarian ground reasons. I am imploring, I am begging them to push for those buttons. The humanitarian visas buttons to consider the separation of families, especially if the family breadwinner, the husband or wife, is working so hard in this country. They haven't committed any crime. The only crime they had is that they are here illegally. They can use those humanitarian grounds to support them and avoid destroying a family. Now, if they had committed a crime, a drug possession crime or some other thing, then those goes beyond the frontiers of what should be considered the humanitarian ground. Mr. Colley added. Mrs. Maricham has been living in the U.S. since 1988. She is a banker. Mrs. Cham says she is concerned about the plight of single-parent illegals. This is what Mrs. Cham said. That it is a very sensitive area. I live in Rhode Island, and right now we have so many single-parent women who are working very hard just to achieve the American dream. They have their kids here, they are law-abiding citizens, they are paying their taxes, they are doing 2 jobs just to provide a better life for their kids and the future generation. So if there's something that the Gambian government can work out with the U.S. government, the Trump administration, to help these people in any way, because these kids are American citizens and their parents are contributing in this economy, that would be something highly welcome. Mrs. Maricham said. Now, Mr. Waka Mbaye is a Gambian migrant resident in Raleigh, North Carolina. Mr. Mbaye says the recent political change in Gambia will affect some of the pending asylum application cases before the U.S. Deportation Department. Now, this is a very important case and very sensitive as well. Right now, we all knew that Gambians are being deported back to the Gambia, and that has never been the case before. But my advice to the Gambians living in abroad, especially in America, is that if they have a pending case, especially if it has to do with political asylum, they no longer have a case. If you have a political asylum that was based on Yahya Jammeh's government, Yahya Jammeh is no longer in power, so you don't have a case. Now, let us speak to their attorney. President Adama Barrow came to power in December of 2016. He has been calling on Gambians residing overseas to return home and contribute their quota to national development. Now, this is Fatoumata and Pine Day. You guys are living overseas. You guys should return back home. I'm just joking, you know. You can stay in the diaspora as long as you want to stay. That's up to you. Now, also in the news, majority leader of ruling party attacks family of journalists for an article on an alleged corrupt ties. Now, the majority leader of the National Assembly, Adama barrow, has publicly issued a threat to family of US-based Gambian journalist Sane Dabo for writing an article on his alleged corrupt ties. In a public speech delivered in Gonjo earlier today, he denied having knowledge of the environmental damage occasioned by a Chinese company owned by his close associates, Alaji Conte. He then singled out the brother of the journalist Omar Dabo, saying, "Tell Sami Dabo not to tell lies about me. Tell Sami Dabo, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Tell Sami Dabo to stop attacking me on social media. Tell him to stop attacking me. You make sure you tell him." Now, in a heated community meeting at Gonjo Beach, the recently elected politician was warned he will be voted out by the people for failing to represent them in their time of need. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, Lamin Jammeh, a UK-based Gonjurian, said, KKB claims he was not informed about this environmental issue. A letter was sent to him and all the recent authorities, and I have a copy to rebuff his claims. I have the copy of the letter hand-delivered to KKB. So a witness who attended a meeting but declined to be named for fear of retribution said, Adama barrow, an environmental activist, has said on the stage that we can vote him out as Gonjo voted him in. The member of parliament, Adama barrow, shouted how he has a huge following and support. He was really, really cross. Now the minister of fisheries was promoted with such a multitude of questions that he walked out of the meeting. It's so funny. Now, Golden Lead area denied culpability in the environmental damage despite a large amount of evidence, only to later settle outside of court with the government in a secret deal. Now, reacting to the attack, Sani Dabo said, "I am not going to dignify with response and an attack by a desperate politician in state of moral and ethical determinations. KKD has witnessed the suffering of his people with callous indifference." Now, my article on his corrupt dealings is the tip of a very submerged iceberg. I'm pleased to inform him that the next publication of his involvement in the mismanagement of funds provided by the British High Commission while working at Tango, leading to a blacklisting. Wow, KKD is a plan there. Interesting. Now, listeners, let's go for a break. We'll be back soon.
Hello, Ismona.
Welcome back, listeners. Gambian arrested for Thailand seized highway. Now, Malawi police at Lilongwe Kamumbuzu International Airport, that's KIA, on Wednesday arrested a 34-year-old Gambian man for allegedly being connected to the seized 330 kilograms of ivory in Thailand in March this year. Now, the suspect, Madi Conte, is also the 7th person to be arrested in connection with the matter, as he was also on the Interpol Red Notice list for crimes against the environment. According to sources privy to insistence, the ivory in question is equivalent to over 200 elephants. The suspect has been shipping the ivory on an Ethiopian Airways flight from KIA Lilongwe via Addis Ababa to Bangkok and was later arrested by Thai authorities as he went to collect the packages. The development has excited the police, Department of National Parks and Wildlife, and local international organizations such as the Lilongwe Wildlife Trust, Wildcat Foundation, and the Auslan Animal Trust. These have advocated agendas for prevention of wildlife crimes. This case illustrates Malawi's position as a regional trafficking hub for illicit wildlife trade, but it also shows that these international syndicates can no longer operate here with impunity. The authorities are taking wildlife crime seriously, and perpetrators can expect to be caught and prosecuted with the full weight of the law. Tommy Emango of Lingongwe Watch Trust said. Media reports disclosed that between 2010 and 2015, rates of arrest in Malawi were less than 1 per month, and convictions carried an average sentence of just $40. However, new initiatives introduced to tackle poor law enforcement, lack of awareness, and weak legislation are said to have been tipped the balance in favor of the authorities. So last year, monthly arrests increased by 11%, and average sentences moved to 4 years in prison, with no option of a fine. The new Wildlife Act passed in February this year increased maximum sentences to 30 years behind bars, and further deters wildlife criminals from operating within Malawi's borders. Wow, it's serious. Like when we look at the Ganja situation and we compare what is happening in Thailand, you see Thailand is taking the environmental issues very seriously. Unlike Gambia, it's like Gambia, we're joking. We need to get serious. Now, national think tank members should know that they are working for the UDP and not a coalition government. So this is a comment from a listener. So his message is, national think tank members should know that they are working for UDP and not a coalition government. So dear Adama Barrow, okay, so please allow me to express my comment, to remind listeners of your program and the whole of Gambia, to remind the members of the think tank committee that they have been selected to help facilitate the development and reform agenda of the UDP government that hijacked the election victory and made it a UDP victory. Gambians went to the polls and elected a coalition government of 7 political parties and an independent candidate led by Adama Barrow. The change that Gambians voted for is not a government where all the key positions in the civic, public, diplomatic, and security services have to be filled by Garankers, Lumunkas, or UDP party members, but every Gambian who took the time and voted in 2016 wanted an all-inclusive government that can unite the country and put national interest first. That is why today, not many people are happy with the government of Adama Barrow. Why the euphoria that followed his victory is waning fast, and why also the popular team, Gambia, has decided is fading in thin air. The people are thrown into a perpetual state of confusion by the ineffective leadership style of Adama Barrow, and nobody knows who is calling the shots within this government. We have a president who refuses to occupy the official seat of power in the nation's capital, currently abdicating his presidential responsibilities. A woman affairs minister who believes that ECOWAS intervened and forced Jammeh out of power because of her cries, and the sole position of vice president is rightfully hers, even if she is above constitutional age limits. And we have a party leader who is bent on empowering his tribal and party associates in preparation for his elevation in the highest office in the land, when he will rule this country forever. The betrayal of Mr. Halifa Sallah and the other prominent members of the coalition 2016 should provide a useful lesson to all the 19 members of the body that their expertise and ideas are only needed for a purpose, to help develop a blueprint for the UDP-led government of Adama Barrow. Their work will only reduce the tax of pursuing well-thought-out policies, formulation by a team of hungry politicians, increasingly unconnected with the wish of the people. Please don't allow yourself to be used. This government is heavily politicized, with too few ideas to allow for critically unbiased intellectual thinking. There is obviously a power vacuum, and unless President Adama Barrow is ready to lead this country, any policy direction created for this government by the think tank members will surely become dysfunctional. A concerned Gambia. Hello viewers, and this has been your news. My name still remains Adama Barrow. Enjoy your evening. Good night, Gambia.